It's 1 week till local and London elections in England. There will actually be elections everywhere in England and Wales because there are police and crime commissioner elections, which are not very much spoken about. So wherever you are, you will have a vote on something. Unfortunately, in most of the police and crime commissioner elections, you only have a choice of uni-party candidates, Tory, Labour, Lib Dem and Green, because the entry fee to enter those contests is £10,000 and there are 42 of them. So it's very, very prohibitive to independents and challenger parties. Of course, though, the main focus is on the London mayor election, which is one of 10 regional mayor elections which is taking place. But of course, the London mayor has the highest profile in the nation and in the mainstream media. And we've had Sadiq Khan for the last 8 years. Before that, we had 8 years of Boris Johnson. Before that, we had 8 years of Ken Livingstone, none of them particularly good. But we have had a disaster, really, in the last 8 years with Sadiq Khan in London with his pursuit of wokery and the climate alarmist agenda. Now, he seemed to be running away in the polls as the outright winner, almost unchallenged. But there has been a slight comeback by the fake Conservative candidate, Susan Hall, who is now 13 points behind him, whereas she was 24 points behind him a couple of weeks ago. This is quite a significant change in the polls, and it seems to be that she has gained at the expense of Reform UK, this hapless fake challenger party that's really just a Tory pressure valve, in my opinion. Now, this doesn't mean that she's going to win. This not much of a change. There are some differences between the two. Obviously, Sadiq Khan is pushing pay per mile road charging. He's introduced the ULEZ last year in outer London, which is affecting also the people who are commuters and businessmen and women who need to drive into Greater London from counties surrounding it. But she still says that she's going to keep the ULEZ in inner London, and she still says she's going to keep all the surveillance cameras there for police surveillance so that we can be surveilled 24/7 for our safety and security. No doubt attached to AI facial recognition technology in the future, which a report said yesterday is being pushed in the UK without any regulation and far, far more advanced in the UK than in countries on the continent of Europe who are much more reticent to employ AI facial recognition technology and allow the police and security forces to have access to it. It seems that we are an aberration in the UK that is going all the way, fast streaming ourselves down the road to surveillance hell. Now, both Labour and the fake Conservative parties and the Lib Dems and the Greens support this. So we shall see what happens in the London elections in just 6 days' time. It's very interesting as well because there are other polls coming out from other races as well. The next most significant race is the race for the West Midlands mayor, which of course includes the cities of Birmingham, Coventry, Wolverhampton, and the surrounding metropolitan areas, a very, very large area. Last time, the fake Conservative candidate won because it was in the same year as the last general election. A year after the last general election. And they were riding high with Boris Johnson having won, promising to get Brexit done. So that was the point at which they'd overturned the Red Wall. Now the Red Wall is being rebuilt, not so much because Labour are inspiring, but because support for the fake Conservative Party has collapsed because they have been proven to be an absolute disaster in every single area, not least the area of immigration and also areas of the economy, not fighting against wokery in in fact, encouraging wokery and destroying our education system quite thoroughly at the grassroots level, with children not being allowed to go to school for for a long period in the lockdowns, and also introducing these subjects like RSE. We hear also that in the international PISA test results of mathematics, reading and writing, England is falling well behind other countries such as China, who are laughing at us because we are no longer pursuing excellence. While they are teaching 13-year-olds about advanced calculus, we're teaching children of the same age about neo-pronouns and how to be a furry. This is really not going to do our children much good in the future. And it's all happening on the watch of the fake Conservative Party. In the West Midlands back there, the candidate for the fake Conservative Party has a strong personal following, but even that doesn't seem to be doing him enough to get him back in. The latest polls show him 6 points behind the Labour candidate, despite his good personal standing in the area. It doesn't look like he's going to get back in. We shall see what happens after these elections next week. Of course, what really counts is not these polls that we get. This is just a little bit of fun for the pundits and the newspapers to sell stories. But what really matters is what people do when they get in the ballot box on the day. In London, in the West Midlands, around the country, we shall see what happens. And it's certainly going to be a day of reckoning for Rishi Sunak and his party. And who knows what is going to happen with them calling a general election sooner or later after the day. We shall see. This is today's News Talk, TNT.
Keeping the commitment.
I love you guys.
Unbelievable.
24/7.
Listen to you every day, have for years.
Today's News Talk Radio, TNT.
Gemma Cooper is here with me on the David Kurten Show to talk about the latest in the UK's news headlines. Welcome, Gemma. What's going on today?
Well, quite a few headlines to bring to the table here in the UK, here on TNT at the top of this hour. But just hearing you talk there, I do think that these elections, local and general, will be extremely interesting, because there was this huge YouGov poll done only this week, the results of which was this week. And it said that only half of British voting electorate they have no faith now in any of the political parties. When questioned, they said, do you have faith that anyone in power will put your interest, people's interest, the people that vote them in, over the party or personal interest of the MP concerned? And they said, absolutely not. Half of the population in the UK, what have we got in the UK? 68 million people. Obviously, not all of those are eligible to vote, but half of the electorate questioned said, nope, not anymore, not since 2020. Don't trust any of them. They're just in it for themselves. And I think that is a mood that we will see reflected in the amount of people that actually bother to turn out. Or maybe people will just be turning out and voting for the more fringe independent. I know there's a lot of people from the freedom movement that have started standing, especially on a local level in elections. So it is going to be a very interesting look at how the political landscape has shifted since 2019 and all the things that happened since then, revealing corruption in power, corruption by governments, the absolute disdain in which they hold the people at the bottom. Let's see what happens. It's a very interesting week next week. Very interesting.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I think there's 46 million or so in the electorate. But yet in the local elections, turnout is notoriously low anyway. I think even in the London mayor elections last year, the most important of these elections that happens on this day every 4 years, it was 3 years ago, actually, because of COVID, the turnout was just about 45%, which means 55% didn't bother to vote. I wonder if turnout is going to be even lower this year. You say 50% are fed up with all the parties in Parliament. Now, that would sort of probably indicate what would happen in a general election. But then turnout in local elections is often a third to a half lower than in general elections. So I wonder if the average turnout is going to be just something like 30%, which is in line with what happens in by-elections, in local elections. And I really think people need to understand the importance of these elections. And A lot of people say to me and have been saying to me this week and last week, oh, I got my ballot paper. People have got postal votes and so on. They say, I've only got uni-party candidates. Who am I going to vote for? And I say, well, look, you can vote for you. Next time, stand yourself. Anyone can stand. It's not hard to do. You just need to get over the hurdle of filling in a few forms, but it's free to stand in county and district and borough elections. Obviously we in the Heritage Party have got 34 candidates standing this year, which is the highest percentage we've ever got in the number of seats there are in local elections. But look, if you're fed up, get involved yourself. You can't leave it to other people. I was thinking about this morning, and there are something like 25,000 seats available at county and borough and district level. So, there's more seats than people, if you like. And at a town and parish level, there's over 100,000. So, really, you can get involved and there's room for everybody to be involved in the political process. We need you to do that rather than just, leave it to the uni-party.